these employers are not loyal. I think it's very important that we do not compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 5, chapter 10, or like their acknowledgments or anything. I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed with where society say we should be or what we should be doing by this age or by this stage in life that sometimes we forget that the journey is ours to take, and there's going to be some ups, some downs, some sprints, some walks. And I think it's very important that we just have to focus on us and what we're actually doing. Today, specifically, we are going to talk about saving and how to save. And sometimes we think that immediately, like if I start saving today, by next pay period, I need to have 3 to 6 months of my emergency fund built up. And that's not the case. You have to start small and start where you're at. Meet you where you are. And I think sometimes that goes overlooked. And the reality of it is, a lot of us are not naturally savers. We are not wired to save. We are wired to provide for our needs. We are wired to spend our money because that's how we get things in return. If we need food, you give someone money, you get your food. If you need shelter, you give someone money, you get your shelter. That's how it works, and that's how we are wired. But when you're saving, you don't have to be saving 20-30% of your income at one time. And that's what I'll talk to you about, just starting small. So right now, if you're getting paid weekly and you can afford to save $10 a week, start with that $10 a week, because that $10 will add up eventually. In a month, that's $40. And that $40 may not seem like much, but that $40 is a meal if you need food, a tank of gas, it's something towards a visit to urgent care or the emergency room. It's something to start with. Because according to some stats that I was reading, I go with CNBC, but apparently 44% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. And then I saw somewhere else that 30% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency. And that's concerning because things are going to happen. And I've said this in so many of my videos. It's not a matter of if, but when. And when I say that, especially in these turbulent times, so I'm going to play personal economist, meaning like personal finance, but economist. I don't have an economy degree or anything like that. I'm just someone that likes to follow. But right now, inflation is turbulent. Large cap companies are constantly laying people off. We do not have anything guaranteed. I'm in the military. I think a government job is probably as stable or close to stable as you possibly can get. But even then, there's furloughs. If a budget isn't passed, we probably won't get paid. So there's always factors. And I say all of that to say is that these employers are not loyal. These jobs are not loyal. They have one goal, and that is to bring in revenue and increase revenue and growth year over year. And that's not growth by hiring more people. That's growth by pushing out more product. It's very important to understand that at any given moment, you can be at work one day making 40, 50, 100K a year, and then the next day, your services are no longer needed. So keep that in mind when it comes to saving and what you're saving for. So not necessarily 6 months of pay, but then maybe try to aim for 6 months of expenses. And you're like, oh my God, you just said start small. How am I supposed to get to that if I'm like starting small? Look at what you can cut out. Right now, my biggest frustration, and just me being fully transparent, and you guys can be like, that's such a first world problem. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. I'm Tia, I make positive lifestyle content. If you're still here, I would greatly appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe to my videos, and turn on the notification button so that you can get notified of my other videos. These streaming services are absolutely killing us in our budget. I'm pretty sure that we're probably paying a cable bill. I don't know, I haven't looked at the price of cable. I've heard that it's expensive now. But between Hulu, Disney, Netflix, and whatever other streaming services we have, I'm just over it. If I can cut that line item out, I would be happy. But if you have streaming services, what can you cut out from your streaming services? If you have any like subscriptions, like monthly boxes or anything like that, can you cut that out? Can you work out outside or at maybe like FYI or anything instead of going to a gym? All of those things can go towards like your monthly budget. And let me tell you, I'm not one of those people that's gonna get on here and tell you that it's your morning latte and your avocado toast that's keeping you broke and the reason why you can't save. But I am going to tell you, if you don't have anything in saving and or you're struggling with saving, look at the cost of those things, and probably over a month's time frame, that's a few $100 that you can contribute towards saving. Not telling you to cut anything out, but maybe consider some alternatives. One of my pet peeves now is paying for crappy subpar coffee. That's why I make it at home and why you have a nice espresso maker or whatnot. But just something to think about. I don't like paying for crappy food, and it seems like as time has gone on, restaurants have gotten worse and worse when it comes to food. I'm not sure why, but again, those are areas you can cut. Maybe instead of buying brand new, you buy secondhand, and it's only temporary. Nothing is forever. It's all temporary until you get to where you want to be. Now, let's say that you already have like your emergency fund, and now you want to have an extra cushion, or maybe you've been eyeing something that you want for yourself. You can cash flow it, or you can save for that too. Savings does not have to be directly tied to like your emergency fund. There's other things to save for, such as a car, a down payment on a home, a vacation, a shopping trip if that's something you want to do. There's plenty of things that you can save for. And once you have your emergency fund established or whatnot, I think it's a little bit easier to start saving for your other goals. You don't have to do that fast or anything. Again, start with where you're at when you're trying to achieve that goal. Something I think comes with saving is also the feeling of delayed gratification. It's like, I know that I have the discipline to work and put this towards something that I want. And then when I get it, because I waited for however long it took me to save, I appreciate it just that much more. And we are an instant society. We want it now, and we want it how we want it. No questions asked. It's like we're all toddlers almost, right? But I remember when I got my first Louis Vuitton bag, it was after we paid off our debt, and I saved for like 4 or 5 months. At the time, I think it was $1,100 or $1,200, and I was putting like $200 or $300 aside for it. And then I ended up getting the bag, and I love the bag, but I will also admit that I don't use the bag as much as I used to. So I'm not gonna get rid of it. It's just something that I think about sometimes or whatnot. It's something that I wanted, I saved for it, I was very happy to get it, and then I still have it, I'm just not using it as often. Something else that's important when it comes to saving, so if you know you're saving and you have like your saving plan, so you're putting away this amount of money every month towards this goal, don't spend the money before you have it. I've seen it on the internet, it's making its rounds where this lady knew that she was getting a bonus, so she prepaid for some things, and before she got her bonus, she was actually laid off. So we don't want that to happen. So I think when we're doing our budgets, you plan for it, but don't spend it. And I know that I've been guilty of it in the past, of spending money before it actually comes to me. It's, what is it? Counting your chickens before they hatch, counting the chickens before the eggs hatch, something like that. But faith is the belief in things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. I have faith that the money's gonna come, but I also know, like I said, these employers are not loyal, so I'm not gonna count on anything that's not physically there, like I actually have at my disposal. And when we're saving also, like I said, we wanna start small and meet ourselves where we're at. We don't wanna compare or think that we should be doing something because someone else is doing it. And I also think that this will help eliminate the feeling of being shocked. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but I know that I have done it, especially in my 20s, where I just knew like $500 a month, that's gonna give me $6K at the end of the year. And this is when I was a low income earner. I wasn't making that much. And I was pulling the money right back out as I put it into savings. It was coming right back out to me. And one, I lacked the discipline. Two, I lacked the knowledge to realize that, hey, if I'm only bringing in $1,100, $1,200 a month, I think maybe I was probably closer to $1,600. This is like back when I was a junior enlisted soldier. But if I'm only bringing that much in, at the time I had a car payment, I had car insurance, phone bill, cable, all that good stuff, I'm probably gonna need that to live off of. But I didn't know that. I wasn't living off a budget. A budget was a foreign word to me back then. But know where you're at, and you don't wanna have to pull the money back out once you put it in. So don't shock yourself. And then you're like, you know what? I'm never gonna be able to save any money because I'm always pulling the money out that I have to put in. And that's very discouraging. That's very defeating. It makes you look at people like me like we have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. So based off where you are and your expenses that you are tracking in your monthly budget or your spending plan, realistically, how much can you afford to put aside? What are you willing to go without in order to meet that goal so that you are able to save accordingly? Those are questions I would ask myself. And if I went back to 22, 23-year-old Tia, I would say, what are you trying to do? And realistically, how are you able to live and can you live off of it? I would like for you to remember that it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Give yourself grace. Start where you are at and understand that you are in competition with no one but yourself. The power of one more is amazing, especially when it's compounding or in a high yield interest account. Once you're done with this video, check out my money mindset video and why it's important when you are trying to achieve your financial goals.